Hi and welcome to this video. What we're going to be looking at is problems with setting up your USB controller. And specifically I'm talking about axis detection and the USB configuration dialog, as you can see here, not detecting the axis that you want to use. So for example, if we were setting up the throttle, we would click this button here and it would say, in my case it's already set, so it's asking me to replace it, so I'll click replace. It asks me to put the stick in the middle, which I've done, and then when the countdown gets to 0 it asks you to press a button or move an axis to assign it to the throttle, and you move your axis and it doesn't detect it. So what's going on there? Why is it not seeing the axis that you're moving? And that's what I'm going to deal with in this particular video, how we make sure that when we move an axis it is actually detected inside of the simulator. Okay, so here we are on my desktop for Windows, and what we're going to do is look at calibration within Windows of a controller, because the reason an axis won't be detected is because the throw on that axis is too small for VelociDrone to detect that you're actually moving a axis. It wants to see a good movement of an axis in order to assign it, and it's not seeing it, and the reason for that is almost always down to calibration of the controller in Windows. So what we can do is we can open up our control panel, and in here there is view devices and printers, and if we go there you'll see, in this case I'm going to do this with a Taranis, the FrSky Taranis joystick, but depending on what joystick you're using you may see a gamepad, you might see a V-bar control, whatever it might be that you're using to interface to the sim, there will be a joystick interface for it here if it's a USB device. So if we double click that, you can see that it's a category game controller FrSky Taranis joystick. So we'll come out there, right click and do properties, not properties, game controller settings, that's the one, and then in game controller settings it's properties. So when we come here, what it shows us is a representation of what our controls are doing. So if I just pick up my Taranis now and start moving the sticks around, you can see that different axes are being moved by different sticks as I'm moving my sticks around. And if I grab hold of the dials on the front, you can see that they're moving other axes here as well, and I have actually got a switch defined to a channel, and you can see that's acting as a button. So we have this interface here showing what our controls are doing, and what we want to do is we want to calibrate. So we go over to settings here and click calibrate, and this starts up a wizard to calibrate your controller, and what you're doing is you're making sure that Windows is seeing full throws from your sticks when you do a calibrate. So we go next, and it says leave the D-pad centered, because it's focused around gamepads really rather than transmitters. So just put your sticks in the middle on your controller, click next, and then you come in here and it says press all the D-pad's corners, then press a button on the controller. Well, you don't have to press a button on the controller, you can actually just click next down here, but I'm moving my throttle up and down here, and you can see that all of a sudden that plus sign is moving backwards and forwards to the full extent. And if I display raw data here, what we should see is plus and minus 127, and that's full throw on a USB joystick device. Now one of my other sticks, it's aileron in this case, is throwing the y-axis, and you can see that that is now going from minus 127 to plus 127. And that's it for this particular X and Y axis calibration. So you can now click next, and it says okay, leave the D-pad centered, so I just put the sticks in the middle again, click next. Now it's looking at the Z axis. Again, that will be one of my sticks, in this case it's pitch or elevator, however you want to refer to it. And you can see that the bar here is really misbehaving. This is a Windows bug. I'm more interested in the display raw data down here, because what I want is minus 127 to plus 127, so that is working fine. So I can click next again, and now it's doing X rotation, and again this is another stick, and this is the rudder this time for me, and you can see I'm getting minus 127 to plus 127, so that's fine. I click next again. Now we're on to Y rotation, and this is one of the dials on the Tranis. Let's see, there we go, it's the left hand dial, and I'm moving that to full extents, minus 127 to plus 127. You can see that being logged there. Next again, Z rotation, that's the other dial, so I move that to full extents. Okay, and I've got full range there as well. Click next. Now it's onto sliders. Well, the sliders on the Tranis don't actually refer to anything on my particular configuration in my Tranis, so there's nothing to do here. And for the other slider there's nothing to do, and then calibration is complete. And when you've finished, you'll come back to here, and what you ought to see is that when you move your sticks, so for instance moving the throttle up and down, this little plus sign should be going to the full extent. It should be going all the way over to the right here and all the way over to the left, which is what we did in the calibration. And then up and down, which is aileron for me, is going to the full extents. And then I can check my X rotation, which is rudder, that's going to full extents. And pitch on the Z axis, that's going to full extents. And then my two dials, you can see these are moving nicely to full extents. And when you're going through this check, what you should be looking for is that when your stick is right at the edge, like that for the rudder, you shouldn't be getting there too soon before the stick gets to the end of its full range of movement. It's when you hit the full range of movement, that's when you should have full range. And the same the other way, when you get to full range of movement, that's when the bar should stop moving. And that's just showing you that your calibration is good. And then once you've done that, you can apply it, click OK, and that's the Windows calibration done. So now when you go back into VelociDrone and you run through your stick detection, you now know that you are getting full throws off of your sticks, and the stick detection should work fine. Okay, so that's it for this video. Just a quick run through on how you calibrate a device to make sure that sticks are detected when you go through your axis assignment within VelociDrone. And I'll see you on the next video.